three different speakers. And in midst, after one of the break, we'll have a raffle for some cricket bats, some other stuff. And then we'll have another speaker, question answer, another break, another raffle, and another speaker, question answers, more raffles. So I heard everybody likes free stuff, right? But this is some good stuff here. And I'm very excited to. Here you go, Raf. Shabai, take it over.
Thank you, Fazal. All right, how's everybody doing this evening? Awesome. I mean, by the way, this is the first time we have had two age groups combined for a tournament. Big round of applause, guys. 60s and 50s. Amazing. Lovely to see the turnout. Of course, the weather wasn't the kindest, but nevertheless, we got cricket, and we still got some good cricket left for the rest of the week. Um, Obviously, we know why we are here, right? But I just would like to quickly touch on the very purpose of the session here today, right? Again, back to the Masters that started 3 years ago, right? Which was just cricket, right? I mean, that evolved in the 3.5 years. The question really was for the organization to think about. We've always been trying to emphasize the gospel of Masters being beyond cricket, right? I mean, yeah, it's wonderful to be playing competitive cricket on the field, but given the age categories we are focused on and the mission, the purpose, right, in terms of doing way more than cricket, healthier lifestyles, and as an enhanced community, as a family, what else can we do to kind of further enhance that experience, make those visits here to play tournaments more meaningful, so that end of the day, right, our players, our members could maximize and make the most out of this trips. And along that journey came, this great concept idea of a networking event. Thanks to Parag Bhai, Arun Bhai, several others who kind of brainstormed and came up with this whole idea. It was initiated last year for the first time. Guys, truly, it was an experimental sort of a step, not knowing what to expect, but the kind of traction, the response we got, and what we were able to see firsthand, I think that was fantastic. Again, thanks to the organizers for starting this initiative as far as networking. It is, again, as I said, truly more than cricket, right? This is about creating a platform, where we can socialize, talk about various topics. And in addition to that, right, it's also a gateway sort of opening, right, for our players through their networks, right? I mean, talk a little about their businesses, promote their products. And last but not the least, equally critical is spreading that additional message, right, of all the goodness and the goodwill out there and the things we could perhaps continue to do as an organization to make sure teams are benefiting. And how exactly does that work? Coming up with key topics, right? I mean, topics that we feel spreading knowledge so that people can go home, be it a discussion on financial investments or, lifestyles, health. In fact, one of the topics today is on health. I mean, specifically Dr. Purakananta talking about shoulders and, potential injuries, how do you proactively take care of that? And the business world out of this whole existence. I mean, right here, we are in the USA. I mean, what better place than having some of our experts come and talk to our members, share their knowledge, their expertise, and also in the process, provide some guidance to our members so that they could leverage and make the most of it. With that said, our first speaker from TechWave, right, Angela Paul-Money. I'd like to request Angela to please come and get the proceedings started. Angela, by the way, is a global head of HR, and she'll be talking about, I love it. I mean, be a silo buster, the keys to increasing collaboration in your organization. Big round of applause for Angela, guys.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for having us today at the event. I'm accompanied by Shrikant Kusagi. who's obviously a huge part of our organization's success. We're part of the group called TechWave, a digital transformation partner right in Houston. Um, I wasn't aware of this, and so this has been an enriching experience talking to some of the founders of this whole event. Cricket is pretty formula, very, very big in Houston. So we're very happy to welcome all of you who are from out of Houston to have the Houston experience. And there's no better place than Sugarland to experience it. So congratulations to all those who are completing your semifinal and final rounds over the next couple of days, and good luck to the champions. We look forward to being part of that. So thank you for having us. The topic, I think, we had three different options based on what our own organization challenges have been and what's evolved. We really wanted to focus on and talk about this, which is being a silo buster. So I want us to just kind of quickly walk through the agenda. We're going to talk about how do you recognize silos, what are the effects of silos, the impact of collaboration in terms of business outcomes, what does a collaborative checklist look like, how do you leverage technology for strategic advantage, measuring and optimizing collaboration, and just talk a little bit about the use cases today across larger enterprises and how they have measured collaboration and effectively used that. So moving on, I want us to take just 30 seconds to reflect on the slide. Maybe think about your own organizations, think about your teams, maybe your own cricket teams today that you're playing, the wonderful team members that you're part of. Does this reflect anything based on what you're experiencing today? It does? Does it look like a sealed off department where there's a lot of noise, but it's not passing through? People are trying to communicate, but it's all sealed within departments, within your teams, within different functions. Critical information is all trapped within silos. If any of it sounds familiar, then you're not alone. Over 55% of organizations today work in silos. That's according to the latest PwC survey. 97% of employees and executives believe there's a lack of alignment between the teams, and it's directly impacting the outcome, be it everyday tasks, be it their projects. Talking a little bit about the effects of silos. 75% of executives say that the teams compete. They don't collaborate, but they compete on the projects. How is that impacting the bottom line? Be it increasing the cost because there's a number of resources that are pretty much doing the job because they're being territorial, or it's having an impact on the bottom line in terms of expected revenue gains actually reducing. Now, all of this information kind of derives with one stat that kind of stood out for us when we were looking through this. Silos cost organizations 1 day in each work week. You're looking at almost 350 hours that's being lost because people choose not to collaborate and operate in silos. There's a famous saying that I think all of us talk about. There's no better place than today as you're in for the Masters tournament. Talent win games, but it's teamwork and intelligence that wins championships. So what is it that it's going to take for us to look at collaboration and understand that silos are not productive for any organizations, teams, families, at any of those ecosystems? It's not the way for us to operate. So to positively look at what's the impact of collaboration on business outcomes, you see the reverse effect from the silos. There's 41% increase in your CSAT ratings. There's 34% increase on improvements in your product quality, your product development, your sales, your bottom line. All of them are very positively impacted on a maximum level when there's impact of collaboration across your business units. And there's a Gallup study that found, as of 2023, that highly collaborative teams are 21% more profitable. So what part of the organization incentive it is to not have collaborative teams? And how can we achieve that within the organization? We talked a little about the stats where if you look at collaboration at a glance across the organizations, we talk about enhanced innovation, we talk about increased productivity by over 52% when teams decide to collaborate and not compete. There's improved problem solving. You look at what is the learnings from things that we have done? Can we create a blueprint to do better? How can professionally all of us create an environment for growth? How can this all result in better decision making? So when you look at all the benefits of collaboration at a glance, there's no reason for any of us to walk out and think of other ways to work and operate in silos and be silent hearers. Now, this is from a best practices, and also some of those things have worked excellent for our organization over the last, I would say, 5+ years, because we took a whole brand refresh about before the pandemic and looked at what's really working for organization like us. And we looked at our business unit models, looked at our people, did a holistic approach in terms of understanding what are things that are working, what are things that are not working. What's really resulted for us growing from a 1,000 associate organization to a 3,500 associate organization and tripling with a 30% year-on-year growth has been to build a shared vision and goal. When we start building all of our individuals, our departments, our functions to the alignment with the organization mission and vision, we've already got a head start in terms of where we want to go. The next most important factor is your executive impact. It has to start at the top. Your C-suite, your executive leaders within each one of your business units and functions, if they are not signed in to handshake and collaborate, not for the sake of it, but to actually mean it and walk the talk, you're not going to make any progress. So we had to define each one of our executive functions to collaborate. And I'll talk a little bit about how did we incentivize them to do it. Now, building in, fostering a culture of collaboration. We're working across global regions. We work across functions. We work across, and we'll talk a little bit about what happened post the pandemic, right? It was so important to foster a culture of collaboration. That meant everybody in the room was talking the same language. Everybody meant that we were all walking towards the same organization goals. And we did a little bit with incentivizing behaviors. So that meant compensation. Your compensation is such a powerful tool to incentivize and drive behaviors. We were able to reward based on performances, that we're just not celebrating individual achievements, but team achievements. And then the process involved turning everyone into an empowered self-leader and increase and drive innovation. Moving across, that actually impacted us getting a 30% growth year on year. When there are multiple keys of collaboration, there's one magic ingredient. Can anybody guess? Nailed it. There we go. I'm sure there's a lot of experience in this room, and that's right about it. 86% of executives cite communication as a major cause of failure in the collaboration. When we did a round one, we failed miserably. We had 13 business units. Year two, we're like, okay, how do we do this better? We've got some great talent. How do we kind of refresh and look back at the whiteboard? And we started breaking the silos down into 3 business units and have a more holistic approach in terms of how do we want to have integrated tools and processes. And the biggest learning in terms of identifying, with the great talent in tech comes the soft skills shortage, right? So we talk about some of the barriers within communication. What are some of the, everybody here has worked in most multinational organizations. So there's linguistic barriers, there's cultural barriers, there's physical barriers, there's hierarchical barriers, depending on the size of the organization that you're dealing with. But the most, I would say, interesting thing that's happened in the last few years has been 2 important issues that HRs across the globe face. One is your changing workforce demographics. Everybody is dealing with baby boomers, your Gen X, Gen Y, and the most important Gen Zs who are starting to fill in our workspaces. Everybody has a different purpose, what they're looking at from workspace. For some of them, the motivation levels are compensation. Some of them, it's more trust and respect. For some Gen Zs, is most importantly, what is it that they can look at a workplace that has a community-based. So we have to understand, we had to go back to the drawing board to understand what really is our workforce demographics wanting. That's going to be accomplished through a lot of surveys, understanding what really is the purpose for them at work. Because almost 70% of employees find a purpose at work. They really drive that from work. So we need to understand what are the stimulants and factors and motivation factors for them at work. The second biggest challenge, thanks to the pandemic, had the whole new way of working, right? So we started having now moved to hybrid models and then part of the return to work models. It's no longer everybody working in the same, under the same roof, under the same office. You're working together, you're working alone together. There's also working together apart and working alone apart. There's 4 different models of hybrid model of working that's happened. There's asynchronous communication and synchronous communication that's possible today. How do we build a stronger awareness of how, where, that you can actually collaborate, and what is the most optimal way of doing that? One way that's, I think, most organizations are starting to adopt, and you've seen a lot of investment that's coming in. I'm sure there's a lot of Gen AI noise that's coming in, is on the digital workplace framework. The new way of working is identifying, okay, these are my departments, these are my functions and my business units that are going to be part of my units. This is going to be the new work hub. How am I going to augment them with capabilities? How am I going to augment with them solutions that they can collaborate? Be it some of the collaboration tools that we can give in, be in content creation, being project management tools. There's multiple ways of having that outside of an Outlook. Employee engagement, I'm sure every organization has been heavily focused on today, and creating employee services up. So there's so many framework models within that, and the best way to do that is to use leverage technology today. And second part of what we want to talk about is in terms of how do we continue to measure collaboration within the digital workplace framework that we have enabled within our organization. Now, there's 2 different ways. You're going to talk about qualitative, but I'm going to first talk about the quantitative because that's a more easier way that we can continue to measure collaboration. It's going to be very simple. When you start having people work across business units, your functions, your support functions, everybody driving towards a common goal, your performance KPIs will showcase. Your revenue number should be up, your profitability should be up, your employee attrition, your churn rate should be down, your CSAT should be up. Those performance KPIs will actually start determining and helping you understand if your collaboration model is working. Now, your work tech tools data in terms of will help us understand this. With AI, you have a lot of collaboration analytics that starts coming in to understand if people are collaborating. Now, that's data, right? It can tell me that me and Shrikant spent 5 hours talking last week, but were we actually collaborating? And that's part of where we use the qualitative data through surveys, through observations, that we understand if people are collaborating in the true sense. And when people are collaborating, you create and increase psychological safety within the organization. You will start seeing that in a happier employee index, and you'll start seeing that when your tenure of the employees start increasing instead of the most important aspect today for organizations when you put in a collaboration model is to have an equitable workspace. Create equity for every employees to be heard, to be valued and trusted and respected in the organization, because everybody today wants to be able to bring their whole authentic selves to work. So one of the things that we talked about is some of the examples that we have done within TechWave. But we look at, I think one of the questions when my team was pushing me when I was talking to them about this presentation was, how does it work for larger organizations? You're talking about us as a 3,500 associates. Is that even possible? And they challenged me to say, how do you think it's going to work across organizations with just 100,000, 200,000 people? And so when we looked and did some research, I found 5 of my favorite companies that we look at where they have successfully built in cross-functional collaboration. And those are companies that obviously are doing great in the stock exchange. They've got great names and have established credibility. Google 20 years ago created this 20% time rule, right? Every employee of theirs had to spend 20% of their time outside of their daily activities to be able to think about what is the value that they can add to the organization. That resulted in some of the most successful implementations of Google, like Google Maps. You talk about Gmail. All of that came through some of the ideas that resonated and started being shared and ideated within the group. Amazon has a different approach of the 2 pizza team rule and collaboration. They believe any meeting should be a 5 to 7 people meeting, which shouldn't exceed more than 2 pizzas. So that's all it takes to collaborate. And the more collaboration that happens within these functions and departments, you start seeing successful collaboration. Pixar had the brain trust meetings and collaboration. So that was a very famous element within their entire organization. Every time there was a movie that was coming, it was just not a creative director's call, or it was just not a scriptwriter's call. There was going to be artists, there was going to be creative directors, there was going to be people from production. Every part of the unit was involved in the brainstorming. And that resulted in Finding Nemo and Toy Story, some of the most iconic movies that came out of Pixar. Apple, again, a company that I'm sure all of us have an iPhone, except for the Android believers. But their interdisciplinary teamwork is something that we can all learn from. Every part of their innovation comes in from having their product owners, from their software engineers, to the hardware experts, and their marketing team. All of them in the same room, brainstorming before any ideas go out. So that kind of ensures that there is seamlessness when you go out of building the hardware and the software. Most ideas fail when departments do not talk to each other, because your sales has gone out and sold something, and your delivery is like, I don't think how we can ever deliver on that once it's being done. But when they start communicating right up front, that creates a much more positive impact on the customers. And Tesla's innovation meetings are something that, again, thrives on the exact same modus operandi of most organizations. You have all the functions and business units being part of the brainstorming meetings right up front, and that drives innovation, because there's a perception that you're not able to bring in from your own experience, but that's something that comes across the table. And having an open mind and fostering a culture of collaboration will help us resulting in getting success. So I had to walk out of this room, and I said, my favorite part is leaving quotes. And I was asking Shrikant, I said, Shrikant, this is a master's group. And I'm a big fan of Dhoni, MS Dhoni, after Sachin Tendulkar. So no offense to any of the great players here. And I think I love two things that he talks about, right? He talks about process all the time. He says, you follow the process, don't forget about the results. But there's something that you talked about on good partnerships. And I believe that he has a great leadership model and builds in collaboration all the time. Steve Jobs, great things in businesses are never done by one person. They're always done by a team of people. As long as you can get that, and I think the team in the finals will be able to definitely demonstrate that. And remember, the last and most important thing when we try within the organizations, we talked a little bit about shared vision. We talked a little bit about the executive impact. But at the end of the day, it's every one of our employees that have to be empowered to make the decisions, which means the collaboration has to begin with them, which begins with you. You don't have to wait for somebody else to start the first step. So that's my 2 cents, and I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to everybody here for having us. And thank you, Arun Bhai. I just met you, but you were so warm and welcoming, and I'm really inspired, and I hope to come and see the finals with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela. Very informative, some great insights. I'm sure our attendees would be able to leverage, take this back to their professional places, businesses. A lot of information. Again, information's priceless. Thank you so much. Another round of applause to Angela and TechWave, please. So we'll do some Q&A. Let's see, we have extra mics. So any questions for Angela? Any thoughts, comments? Just raise your hands, please, if you have any questions.
We've already made the arrangement. There are no questions.
There you go.
We made enough friends.
Oh, you were yawning, or you raised your arm.
Jatin, now you're forced to ask a question. Huh?
You're on the spot.
That's fine. Thank you, Angela, again. Just a quick question I have. You showed us those working models, and you also briefly mentioned about hybrid models, working together, working together alone, and so on. Do you have any data which will say that out of those 4 models, which one will be more productive versus other ones?
So I think there's no one size fits all, right, Jatin? I think that's something we've learned within our departments. I don't see Shrikant maybe once a month. I do see him, so we work in a different model. But I have within my own function, my office team, my marketing team, we collaborate a lot more. So there's a lot more hybrid working together that happens. So there's not a one size fits all. And we've also seen that depending on the products and services that we offer, you have to be able to adapt to the different models. So that's about it. Yeah.
So I often joke with Angela and my boss in the office, uh, and it goes to the working models, right? How you collaborate. So I tell them that if they see me in office, I either have no work or I don't have food at home. So that's the way we are driving our collaboration. So they know that I'm busy when I'm not at work, which is very different than what even 10 years ago it used to be. Everybody had to be physically in proximity, always available. But this is the new model that we are driving. Very, very successful. Sometimes frustrating because what used to take maybe 5 minutes to tap over the shoulder and get fixed now takes a week. But then the flip side is there's so much flexibility. In that week, I can get other tasks done. So that's one way to look at it.
Jatan, actually, he comes to the office only for biryanis. Okay, so I have to let him know through Teams. That's how my collaboration model with Shrikant that works. But he drives an hour almost away, right? So we look at how he can be much more productive by being working out of home, collaborating with the clients, collaborating with the teams. There's one beautiful example. I think we had his first biggest client that he brought to TechWave was a classic example of collaboration, right? So we work with global teams, which is our teams in Hyderabad, and we had our bid management model that we were working through. And when we were sleeping, they were putting in their inputs that Shrikant would get up in the morning and review and be able to talk. So we had one proposal that we worked on. There was sales involved, there was marketing involved, there's competency involved, there's bid management that's involved. Everybody had different inputs that we actually sometimes ended up missing, and we won it. And so it's shared success and shared learning. I think it cuts across, especially in the hybrid model.
Angela, fantastic talk today. Really enjoyed it. My question for you, you said one of the things that you need to have is the C-suite executive alignment. Folks who are at that level have gotten there because they are, highly driven personalities. They know what works or what has worked for them in the past. So can you share how, to me, that seems like one of the biggest challenges, that to bring all of these highly successful people together to collaborate. Can you give some examples of how you would make that happen? Because it starts at the top and the rest of the organization follows the leaders.
Absolutely. I think there's actions speak louder than words, and walk the talk has to happen from the start. I've been blessed to work with organizations. I used to work with Citigroup before TechWave. So very, very different organizations from a functional perspective. Your C-suite would disappear the moment that they give you a town hall meeting, right? So you do not have access to it. But it's so important. There's a lot of nonverbal communication that happens within those meetings, between those town halls and conversations that happen, especially in larger organizations. And how they treat people when they have those 5-second hallway conversations make a difference in terms of making people feel and heard. And I'm sure Shrikant can kind of elaborate within that. And one important thing that I want to also highlight in terms of the C-suite is driving the organization mission and vision and unlearning what really has worked for them. Because there are people, that's I think is part of the communication, one of the biggest barriers, I think, when we have people with very strong dominant personalities and habits that are very hard to unlearn, they kind of drive and drain the employees' motivation. And you'd start seeing that in some of the KPIs, right? You'll start seeing there's a higher attrition rate because people are able to see through today's generation, the workforce demographics. The data is so telling in terms of the attrition. People really care about how they feel at the organization, and so that's just going to show up right out there. So I can say that my example here at TechWave has been Raj, our Gumadapu, our CEO, is somebody who walks in. He creates a lot more trouble for me as a HR because he walks in and talks to everybody in the room, and he would say hi, hello to the newest intern, and he'll be like, have you not made sure he knows where the coffee is? And I'm like, Raj, you don't need to talk to everybody, right? So it's a lot about how it is when you kind of, it comes to the C-suite. And it's harder. It's true. It's harder in larger organizations because you cannot be at scale of being available for everybody. But use the moments that matter, right? Your town halls, your communication channels in terms of the newsletters and things that you drive in. People even look up to things that are being posted in LinkedIn and seeing if it really matters in terms of are people actually communicating the same way what they're talking within the organizations. So walk the talk from leadership really helps.
Any more
Thank
questions?
you.
Any other questions?
Was it they're looking for the next event?
Here.
Thank you for the conversation. One of the slides you showed talked about the desires for different age groups, right? And obviously, innovation happens with ideas. Ideas don't always reside with the young generation, but they do have some great ideas. So, what challenges do you feel are faced when you're trying to use experience, hunger, and the desire piece, right? Because experience is important, but hunger sometimes dies with that experience.
Great question, right? And when we've figured the puzzle, I think we've solved world hunger first. But I think there's two important elements, and that's part of building this communication and learning within the leadership team to be accepting new ideas. Because what happens in most of the time, like what Anga talked, Arun talked briefly about, when you as an executive who spent 30, 40 years in organizations, you've seen ideas fail, you're already your first instinct is to go back and tell the intern, you know what, don't worry about it. That's not going to work, right? Because we have got an idea that it's kind of not worked in the past. There's no way this is going to work, right? Our intention is to maybe help the intern or the newest hire to save time and energy for an idea. But maybe there's a better way to do it today after so many years. And that's part of where the unlearning that has to come from the leadership. So we don't kill great ideas, give opportunities for people to fail if they have to. And maybe there's success that comes in. So the tolerance within the group for us to be able to, and I think that's a key element for us to be able to have innovative ideas, succeed or fail, is to have the tolerance within the group to be able to hear that and give people the platform to execute it. Maybe they would do it better than us, right? So that's part of the dominant personalities that we've seen has been one of the challenges in certain groups and functions that we have seen in the past with us. Thank you.
A minute more of one experience that you had. The common thread to answer that question was how do we keep the young, middle, and folks together? I think the exciting part of at least the advantage that we have with the IT services is we're always the technology sector, everything, something's always happening. That gives us that edge. And the second thing is, thanks to the newer generations that are coming in, they're much more aware. They have a lot more tools at their disposal to understand what's happening around than those that were in the past. So, one interesting example, I'll spend a minute on this, was we were asked by one of our customers to design a procurement system that would be used by people who are into the procurement function 15 years from now. That's the kind of question that was thrown to us, and the only way we could do it was go down to our high schools and colleges and the regular colleges here and be with them and ask them those questions as to what keeps them interested, because the current generation has probably an attention span of maybe 10, 15 seconds, and then they can move to the next task. Not that it's bad or good, it's just that the style of how they function. So we were asked to design a system that will take care of doing large-scale strategic and transaction procurement for people who are in the market or in the function 10, 15 years down the line. So that actually brought a lot of people together. Just a quick example on how we can overcome completely different styles of people coming together at one project.
One other idea that's worked for us in the past, I think we've practiced in certain business functions, is to have an ideation box, but you don't know where the idea is coming from. So that's going to take the bias of thinking, is it coming from the, a millennial? Is it coming from the Gen X? Is it coming from the Gen Z or the baby boomer? But you then start looking at ideas as ideas and not necessarily where it's stemming from. So that's an approach that I think we've got some of the breakthroughs within our own functions using that approach. Thank you. Is my fellow Houstonian asking a question now? Okay.
we're all the other riffraff basket questions, and now it's going to be Houstonian questions. So what are the key points that you have to consider when you're dealing with cultural boundaries? Because these days collaboration happens across the globe. So what key points would you recommend that people need to look for?
I think today, one of the surveys that we've looked at, and most importantly with the changing demographics, respect and trust are much more valued at today's workforce, right? Which means you're respecting boundaries, you're respecting culture, you're more accepting of people's culture, including how they want to be called, right? There's pronouns that you have to be respectful about. There's places and cultures and festivals and every little bit of what really matters to them. Just being accepting really helps and goes a long way. Does that answer your question? Thank you. And today's workforce is much more diverse than what we are used to, and that's changing every day. And that's just not demographics-wise, but the number of regions that you're operating with. And we have that across. When we start working with people from Europe, we have people working from Australia, we have people working from India and here. Every region, it's just a lot of learning in terms of how do you adapt and work with different cultures. And I think every organization needs to use the learning and development group very effectively in making sure some of those trainings that happen to understand culture and define the culture barriers. Okay. I know the doctor is going to come next. Puzzle, are you?
Any more questions, guys?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Angela. Again, appreciate your time. Some good questions as well. Excellent questions. All right. So I think we're ready for our second speaker. But before that, are we going to do some raffles, Fuzzle?
Yeah, couple.
All right. I mean, some exciting prizes, some excellent prizes to give away. So, Fuzzle, what are we doing?
So does everybody have a ticket? No, have a ticket doesn't mean you win it. All right.
Bali's already celebrating.
So last call. If you don't have a ticket, get one now, or else we get going with 2 raffles. Well,
Yes, by default, you're the winner.
Yeah.
All right. So, who's picking the first one? All right, we'll have Angela pick the first lucky winner. What are we giving away, Fazal?
So we are giving away cricket bat thanks to Hamza Bhai, who sponsored.
Big round of applause for Hamza Bhai, guys. Where's Hamza? Can you stand up?
Where is he?
Hamza? There he is. Thank you. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for your generosity. All right, a lovely bat. If you've not been getting scores, maybe this is the answer for the winner. Oh, I definitely need one, not 1, 2 of these. So, all right, let's see. All right, Angela.
Lucky winner.
The one that is slightly pink is mine. Please pick that. All right, the winning number 640042. Do we have a winner? I repeat, we have one. 640042. Come on, get your bat. Sorry, it was a T-shirt. I forgot. No, just kidding. Come down. Come down. Awesome. Again, thanks to Hamza. A solid USA bat.
Can you verify this?
4242. Congratulations. Hamza, if you could please hand over the bat to him. Looking good. Congratulations, buddy. And thank you, Hamza, again. All right, the second one coming from Bistrack. Again, a round of applause to Raf and his team. Raf, you to stand up, please. Rafe, thank you so much again. A lovely jacket here.
All right, Maithili.
Bistrack. All right, Fazal, let's go for the second one. All right. He asked me to go a little slow on the numbers. I forgot you're in an age group category. So 6, 4, 0, 1, 0, 7. Do we have a winner? Vishal Sharma? No? Okay, he's banned now for further contests. Anyone ending with a 107? You did. So why are you shy? Come on, it's yours. Raf, come give it away. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Congratulations, Vishal. I know with the 100-degree heat, you can still wear it. It looks cool. Awesome. Congratulations. Idhar aa jao. Congrats. Thank you, Raf. 107. All right. Doing one more, or we? All right. Before we go to the second speaker, also, I know this room is full. If you get a chance, please take a few moments, maybe after we finish, to kind of go through, look at the posters, some very good information in there, right? Names, businesses, more importantly. When you get a chance, socialize, guys. Look around your table, speak to folks. So, you know, I mean, the businesses, whatever it is they do professionally, personally, I mean, there's so much information, wealth of information that you guys could leverage, take advantage of, get to know each other's, you know, maybe you may have some third interest, meaning someone looking for internships, jobs, or perhaps business ideas. That's the whole idea of this whole platform, right? So please do that. And of course, there are some seats out here. So I see a few folks standing. Please feel free to come and actually sit over here. All right. Our second speaker, I guess, doesn't really need any introduction. I mean, a key figure, one of the, you know, persons, I mean, the founders of this very organization, incidentally also happens to be a fantastic doctor, right? Sports medicine, fantastic human being, and, you know, leads by example when it comes to health, it comes to fitness. And as such, he's going to be talking about the shoulder, right? The art of preservation and the aging athlete. I would say in the masters athlete. That's what it should be. Big round of applause, Dr. Parag Ananta, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for this opportunity. That's a tough act to follow. That was a brilliant talk, Angela. And the takeaway for those of us who are not in the corporate world is collaboration, I think. You know, even in sports, for those of you who have been fortunate enough to play international masters, I can give you a couple of examples. As Masters Cricket USA, we won 2 international championships. One was here, right here in Houston, where we won the Champions Trophy. But the one that I am most proud of is winning in Barbados. Winning cricket tournaments is tough. Winning cricket tournaments away from home in Masters is even tougher. And the one salient point of that championship was we did not win a single individual award. We didn't get best batsman, we didn't get best bowler, we didn't get MVP, but we won the championship. That, I think, is collaboration on a team. So I think actually, you know, for those of us who are unlucky to play team sports, I think that should be mandatory for everybody to play a team sport. That's where it teaches you sacrifice, teaches you collaboration, and makes you, I think, just a better human being. So thank you, Angela, for that. So for those of you who know me, I actually do have a day job. I practice sports medicine. And I trained back in India, Usmania Medical College in Hyderabad. I did my orthopedic surgery there. Worked in England for a little bit, and then moved to the United States. And I've been practicing sports medicine for about 30 years, close to 30 years right now in the Boston area. So the topic, actually, we wanted to get something exciting in the healthcare field here. We were looking for a cardiologist talking about, cardiac issues in the aging athlete, which is the most common issue that we face. but the speaker we had aligned had a last minute issue, couldn't be in town, so I am your poor replacement, so you just got to deal with me. So try to do the best job I can about the issues with which we usually face as an aging athlete. So the one thing I think we all do realize is age is undefeated. What we're trying to do is not to fight it, but just delay the process in a way where it eventually is going to happen. But what are the things that we can do to help ourselves perform at our very best in spite of this handicap that we usually have? So I'll try to make this topic a little bit more relatable to most of us. So it's not going to be a medical talk, more related to a little bit of cricket and what we can do in our small own way to help ourselves. In cricket, at least when I was growing up, it involves batting, bowling, and fielding. Most of our coaching was batting, bowling. Yes, we did fielding drills, but I don't recall ever being taught how to throw a ball. We just learned it. We said, pick the ball and throw it. But I think in baseball, that is culture, where they start with teaching you how to do it properly. And that, I think, where it starts in terms of injury prevention. But I don't recall any cricket coaching that had throwing manuals on how to do it properly. But whether you're a batsman, a bowler, or even a wicket keeper, the one thing you definitely do on the cricket field is throw the ball. And that's actually where most of your injuries happen. So coming to the shoulder joint, this is one of the most unstable joints in your body. A little bit of anatomy, obviously that's the shoulder joint, that's your shoulder blade. You have your glenoid, which is the cavity, a ball and socket joint. And that's your head of humerus that goes into the glenoid. Since that's small, you see this big cartilage that's out there? You must have heard the term of a labral injury, glenoid labrum. So what the cartilage does is actually makes the socket a little bit bigger for the ball to fit. So one of the key terms that most sports people hear about is a rotator cuff injury. So what exactly is the rotator cuff? The rotator cuff are 4 muscles that go around the humeral head. You have the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, the subscapularis, and the teres minor that form a cuff over the shoulder joint here. Compare that joint to the hip joint. Now here is where a joint that is very stable. It's still a ball and socket joint, but if you take a look at the bony cover here, it's much more stable because the socket is much bigger. The hip mobility is lesser, but the stability is much better because of that coverage. So that's your shoulder joint. If you take a look at the glenoid, that's so small, and the humeral head, that's so big. So here in the shoulder joint, you're getting mobility, but to get mobility, you sacrifice stability. And that's the result why you get so many injuries in your shoulder. Now, one of the things when we practice sports is you have to get fit generally. The question is, when somebody talks about why do I need to stretch out my hips, my hamstrings, why do I need to strengthen my core to protect my shoulder? Doesn't make intuitive sense. But if you take a look at this picture, the kinetic chain of the body, when you're throwing the ball, typically the shoulder should not do any work. The energy comes from your legs down to your core, your rotation, and the shoulder just follows through. So if you take a look at this picture, flexibility, hip flexor, hamstring flexibility. If your hip flexors or hamstrings are not flexible, you're not going to get stride length, which is key to form the basis. If your core is not strong, you're not able to go and get the rotation. So if you have faults anywhere in the kinetic chain, all you're going to do is throw with your shoulder, not with your body. And that's where all the stresses come through that results in injuries. So the key is, even though you want to strengthen your shoulder, it starts from the bottom. Flexibility of your hamstrings, strength in your hamstrings, your gluteus, strength in your core that results in safety of the shoulder. Now, when people come to me, and I think Vinod, you here? Yes. So I think it was last year, he was talking to me about a shoulder issue. He had a gun throw. He had issues with his shoulder in terms of, I'm not able to do it anymore. So what do I need to do in terms of exercises? Typically, when you look at your shoulder, most people think about their pectoralis, which is the front of the chest, their deltoids. But the key muscles are these things called scapular stabilizers. What they are these muscles we talked about. You're talking about the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, the serratus, and the teres minor, which are muscles around the rotator cuff. And the reason strengthening these muscles, which are basically the shoulder external rotator, the muscles that get your shoulder out, is because of this. When you throw the ball, what's stopping your arm coming out of your shoulder joint? It's these muscles, the scapular stabilizers in the back. Now, these muscles are weak. Every time you throw the ball, you're going to start developing tears in these muscles, which lead to scar tissue, decreased flexibility. And that's one of the analogies. These are your scapular stabilizers. That's your arm. When your arm goes forwards, you need these to stabilize your shoulder to keep it from getting injured. Now, this is a debate that I think most of us can relate to, medical, non-medical, in terms of what's the best bowling action, right? The common terms we use are you a side-on bowler? Are you a front-on bowler? Any thoughts on this? Which is a better bowling action? That's exactly right. He said mine. Right? I've watched through many videos, and Ramki, I'm sure you've seen many bowlers bowl with different actions. Every bowler has got a unique action. I don't know which is better. When people say, if you bowl front on, you're able to better control swing. I've seen many bowlers who are side on. Take Wasim Akram, for example. He's the most side on bowler that I've seen, and no better control of swing than him. So the answer to that is, you need to figure out what your bowling action is. So these are a few bowling actions of the top bowlers. See if you notice anything in their actions that make them side on or front on, or what their bowling actions are. So the one thing I usually pay attention to is where his foot lands and how his foot lands. What is the second one? These are not the best videos to see the foot action, but I think you get the point when I come to it. Take a look at his foot landing. And again, keep attention on where his foot lands and how his foot lands. significant weight on that. So anyway, I think the key to that is, I don't know if you paid any attention to how the foot was landing, right? Can you replay that, Ashish, once more? So obviously he's one of the most front-on bowlers you see, Malcolm Marshall. So from what you see, there's two ways the foot lands, right? One, it is close to perpendicular to the popping crease, or it is parallel to the popping crease. Why that is important is, if you analyze that, then you can work on your technique as to what to work on. Typically, if you're landing your foot perpendicular to the popping crease, then you need to work on your agility and speed in delivering the ball. Because if your foot is landing perpendicular, you're not going to be getting any core strength into your ball. You're going to be speed is going to be the critical factor. You need a fast run up, you need a good follow through, so you need to work on your speed. If your foot is landing parallel, then what you're doing is you're getting your core strength into delivering the ball. And that's where you need to be working significantly on your core strength. So I don't know which action is better. Like he said, his action is the best. But you need to figure out what your action is, which determines what you need to really work on to improve your speed, decrease the chances of injuries. So this is what I talk about. Watch his foot landing. He actually even is not even parallel. He's back, actually. And the amount of force he has on his core is significant. And that, to me, is the most favorite bowler that I have in the world. So now again, we're talking about shoulder and different bowling actions that can put quite a bit of stress on your shoulders. Okay. So one of the key questions is, when you're putting these much stresses onto your shoulder, right? A couple of them are fast bowlers. You would think that fast bowlers injure their shoulders more. But if you look at the statistics, shoulder injuries in fast bowlers are not much. It's the spinners. So if you think, at Masters, I'm just bowling spin, I don't really need to work out, my shoulders will be fine. Spinners and the slower bowlers injure their shoulders more. In the fast bowlers, you have knee injuries, you have back injuries, but not as much with the shoulders. And even with the shoulders, even in the spinners, if you're an off spinner, because your shoulder is open that way, you have a less chance of an injury, as opposed to being a leg spinner, which impinges your rotator cuff more. So you can see that by the numbers. So I'll just go through briefly some medical conditions that we come across typically with the shoulders. This is a shoulder dislocation. What that basically means is the ball is not in the socket anymore, it's completely out. Typically, this happens in a much younger athlete. And the reason for that is the ligaments are much more flexible in a younger athlete. And when you have an injury like that, unfortunately, the younger you are, the more the chances of a recurrent shoulder dislocation. I'm sure you probably have had friends who can actually voluntarily dislocate their shoulder and put it back. That's because of that increased flexibility they have as kids. Most of us, if we dislocate a shoulder this way, I don't think we need to worry about a recurrent dislocation. Typically, because at our age, you get much more of a scar tissue that in itself stabilizes the shoulder. So basically what it does is it decreases your mobility, so you really don't dislocate it in a recurrent way. Now I'm sure you came across this term, many of you, called a frozen shoulder. I've had a frozen shoulder which is stiff. Most of us relate this to a rotator cuff injury or a sports injury. It has nothing to do with sports. It's a condition that most people really don't know why it happens more in the female, happens more in people who are diabetic, happens more people who have issues with thyroid. So had a lot of patients where initially they come with a stiff shoulder, and the first thing we ask them to do is, are you a diabetic? Did you get your thyroid checked? What this is basically an inflammation of the capsule of the shoulder. Nothing to do with the rotator cuff, nothing to do with the muscles. Thankfully, it's self-limiting. What happens is you get the inflammation, your shoulder gets stiff, you keep moving your shoulder as much as possible. You get to a point where it actually freezes. What that means is you can't move your shoulder at all because the capsule is completely inflamed, and then it recedes where you get your shoulder motion back. Again, huge difference between this and a rotator cuff injury, which is much more of a sports injury that we do. So this, again, is shoulder impingement. So that's typically your shoulder motion. So one of the things you need to realize is, can you go back on that? Yeah. So when the shoulder moves, the first thing that happens is this muscle has to stabilize the shoulder so it doesn't go up. Again, we are talking about scapular stabilizer. So if these muscles are weak, it impinges because these are not able to hold it, and that leads to typically the tears in the rotator cuff. The most common muscle that's involved is the supraspinatus. So again, it's key to strengthen those scapular stabilizers, because unless that happens, the deltoid doesn't take and move your arm up. So that's one of the main things in a rotator cuff injury, which is completely different than the frozen shoulder that we're talking about. So this obviously is an MRI of your shoulder. So, that's your humeral head, that's your glenoid, that's your labrum there. This is called the acromioclavicular joint, where your collarbone meets your shoulder bone. In people who are older, you develop these bone spurs in the AC joint right here. And that is your rotator cuff that goes through there. And you can see whenever you move your shoulder, because of that impingement, you can start developing small tears in the rotator cuff like here. Obviously, that's a scope that shows a tear in the rotator cuff. Stop that there. Now, how many of you people have heard about this term, hip-shoulder separation? It's a very common term, very commonly used in baseball. So the key to hip-shoulder separation is they talk about not the whole body moving at one time in a throwing motion. If you're able to split the hip rotation and let your shoulder lag, then you develop this elasticity where you can throw the ball much faster, much further, and the same thing with bowling. What you need to develop, or even in football. Now we have people who have followed Tom Brady. He talks consistently about the hip-shoulder separation, where he has to move his pelvis up front, the shoulder is lagging behind, and then he comes across. And that's a technique that takes a little bit of learning and applies to bowlers as well. When you rotate your hips and your shoulder is back, you develop this elasticity to throw longer, throw faster. So you can just play that for us. So again, to get that hip-shoulder separation, these are the important things you need to do. We talked about flexibility in the beginning. When we are talking about the kinetic chain, we're able to throw the ball. So for that, you need to be able to get your hips stronger, your base stronger, and the hip and the pelvis has to rotate independently of your torso to get that hip-shoulder separation. And that is the best throwing mechanics you have. Most baseball pitchers, follow that diligently. The next question a lot of people have is, I'm sure you've seen a lot of baseball pitchers. After they pitch, they wrap their shoulders in ice. There's been a little bit of debate. I'm sure most of us who go to Google and check what to do, there'll be debates about should you ice your shoulder or shouldn't you ice your shoulder. Yes, there's been some controversy if you actually have a shoulder injury. Maybe it's not great to ice it immediately because some of the inflammatory factors that come in there actually help with healing. So don't relate that to normal bowling or shoulder activity that you do on a day-to-day basis. If you're playing tennis, if you're bowling, I would definitely suggest after you finish it, wrap your shoulder in ice. I'm sure most people have talked about ice baths. After you play, you get into I don't think I can ever do that, but for your shoulder itself, that brings down that acute inflammation, decreases the pain, keeps your shoulder more mobile. So two different things, right? If you have an injury to the shoulder, there's some debate whether you should ice it or not. But on a regular way, if you are a bowler, after you finish it, especially at our age, make sure you ice it down. So again, in summary, the most important things, we talked about flexibility, the kinetic chain, right? Not only your hip flexors, your hamstrings, in your shoulder, the most important thing to stretch out is the front of your shoulder. You get much more flexibility, you stretch the front of your shoulder and strengthen the back of your shoulder. So don't strengthen your pecs as much as you're strengthening your scapular stabilizers. So stretch the front, strengthen the back. We talk about core strength, whether it is throwing, whether it's bowling, whether it's batting, any activity in cricket. Core strength, key. How you develop your core strength. One of the most important things that most people talk about is, thanks to most of the, I guess, Hindi films or even English films, everybody wants a six-pack. That is just not your core. Your core is not only your abs, your obliques, and most importantly, your back extensors. That forms the core. For a lot of people, the way I tell them is do a plank. If you're able to do a plank, you're activating all those muscles. You're activating your abs, your obliques, your back extensors. See if you can hold a plank for 3 to 4 minutes. That is your best core strengthening exercise. And also when you're doing that, you're not loading your disc as opposed to doing any other weights or anything else, even sit-ups. You're loading your disc by a flexion activity. But if you're doing planks, it's a static strengthening activity. You're not trying to build up bulk. You're trying to build up tone. So strengthening your core in any activity in life is key. We talked about scapular stability. Strengthening the scapular stabilizers, which are actually the back of the shoulder muscles. Stretch out the front, strengthen the back. So hopefully, if you are able to be diligent, like we talked about, everybody is different. You figure out what is unique for you, what you need to do as a spinner, as a fast bowler, what your bowling action is, what you need to work on, and see if you can, prolong all our careers. And, very recently, we've had 4 of our players being selected for the over 70s World Cup. That's good. So most of the people here are in the 50s and 60s, and hopefully, we'll be still playing when we are 70, 80, and beyond, I guess. So, thank you very much, guys.
Yep, we get time for like 5 questions. Oh God, 1, 2. We'll have to pull draws, I guess, for that. But you can wait. Question?
Is there an exam now?
When you get back home, Ashish.
So normally when you go to the doctor, they recommend you surgery. If there is a shoulder injury and a surgery is recommended, are there any ways to avoid that, or Is that a good idea to prolong?
So, I mean, obviously, I mean, that's a general question, Raj. So it depends on specifically what you need to do, right? I mean, there are a lot of factors that come into play. If you're having a partial tear or tendinitis in the shoulder, most people would suggest, don't do surgery, do everything else, strengthen your scapula, take some anti-inflammatory medications, strengthen your muscles, and most of the time that settles it down. But if you're in a situation where there's a complete tear in the rotator cuff, that's a mechanical issue. And if you want to play, if you're 80 years old and you don't care, you don't want to throw, you don't want to bowl, then say, you can live with it. But if you're a young 55 and you want to play continuously, you have a full length rotator cuff tear, then you don't have a choice. You need to get surgery. So it depends on the specifics, so.
Question here, Parag.
Thanks, Parag. It was an awesome presentation. I had a couple of questions. First is, how do I get consultation with you? That's one. Okay. The second is, now I give an analogy, right? We want to see how our body is. We go for a blood test. We get our sugar levels done, cholesterol, blah, 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 right? So my general question is, how do we rate our own shoulder? Can we get an MRI to see the health of our shoulder, etc., in general, so that we know where we stand and how do we go about it, right? Yeah, thanks.
Sure. The first question is easy. I mean, everybody who knows me, a cup of tea will do that. They can get a consultation. Now, as far as the second, I'm not so sure you really want an imaging study to see if your shoulder is good or not. There are going to be changes. Everybody over the age of 30, you get an MRI of your shoulder, you are going to see abnormalities. That is the normal aging process. So I'm not so sure. I know in cardiac wise, a lot of people would say, for Indians, or I shouldn't say Indians, but Asians, we have a very high risk of cardiac, sudden deaths. So yes, your CT angiogram or something will know the health of, what that is. But if you're asking prophylactically, should I get an imaging study of the shoulder? The answer to that is no.
Thanks, Parag. I'm taking this moment to thank you. I know you for last 12, 13 years. And I know in the past, what personally I do, I go to the regular doctors and for whatever reason, when they tell me something, I don't understand. But when I come to you and you explain it to me, and I think I've asked you 5, 6 times in the past. I keep 1 or 2 medical or body-related issues for Parag. I know I'm going to see Parag, next month in a tournament or something. So I keep that questions with me and I ask Parag. And I understand, when you explain it to me, I understand, I retain that information. So with the shoulder, with my I don't even know the plantar.
Fasciitis.
Right? Last 5 or 6 years, you have helped me a lot. I truly appreciate how you help you. If I ask you anytime you'll answer that question. You help me. So
thanks, Sadhbir. Now you're embarrassing me in public. Thank you. You may
I don't really have the words to say thank you to you, but you have been instrumental in helping me personally in last 7 or 8 years with even the smaller things. I remember all those things, the way you explain and the way you help
thanks,
me.
Sadhbir. That's very generous of you. Thank you. Thank you. But I would suggest, if you're having a sore shoulder, we talked about icing, some anti-inflammatory medications, give it a week. If you're still not getting anywhere, then,
Hi, Parag. I'm glad I'm here today because I've been suffering from a shoulder injury for the last 7, 8 months. And my when I went for physiotherapy first, and they told me to do some exercise. I did, nothing changed. And then they wanted me to go for MRI. I said, I refuse to go for MRI. I did ultrasound, and they found a tear on my back of shoulder. And after that, they said, don't do any exercise. So I can't lift more than this. I can't go this way. You know?
Yep.
Maybe over 60s, we're not hitting too many sixes, so I don't know.
Are you left or right-handed?
I'm a right-hander.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, right? I mean, to get the answer to that, if you've tried physical therapy and stuff, you know, you get your physician will probably examine you. And if you've tried everything else conservative, probably, you know, you may have a tear. Getting an imaging study. Again, the question about, you know, one thing I'll take just 2 seconds here, Fazal, is typically the protocol, unfortunately, we have to deal with insurance companies in this day and age, is for somebody like Shanta, he kind of goes to the physician, they get an x-ray. For a problem like his, it's useless, right? He doesn't have a structural bony injury. So it's likely a muscular thing, and if at all he needs to get something, he needs to get an MRI. But then you got to do this dance of getting a plain x-ray, getting therapy, getting medications before you eventually. But if you get a good physician, he'll probably justify, and that's probably what you need. And I'm not so sure why you refused an MRI, because that is the best picture you can get of your shoulder as opposed to an ultrasound.
So we're going to take a few more questions, but he's reachable here. So people who are from this area, you can go reach him anytime. I'll tell you 2 tips. He loves tea. Invite him for chai. He'll get there. Or ice cream dessert. So that will work every time. So.
Thank you. Good evening. Yeah, my name is Satyavan Sharma, playing from Eagles. So this is regarding, I never have any shoulder problems so far, fortunately. But my question is that, should I go to gym doing weights and doing push-ups every day, or it will impact as I grow older?
Of course, you know, again, we talked about you doing push-ups, right?
Yeah,
if you're doing
and
push-up,
I'm a medium pace bowler
understand.
so far.
So
Yeah.
that's exactly the point that I was trying to make. When you do push-ups,
Yeah.
you're strengthening your pecs.
Okay.
You want to strengthen the back of your shoulder and
see.
stretch the front of your shoulder.
Good.
So yes, I mean, push-ups I'm not saying are bad, but you're targeting a different kind of a joint and different kind of an issue, not your shoulder.
Like
So
dumbbells and
you typically don't want to do repetitive over shoulder activities because that causes some inflammation and impingement at the shoulder. So anything down here, strengthening the external rotators is what you need to be doing. Done, Fazal?
Thank you, Parag. You know, like the physical therapy, you know, like how often you go for a soldier, you know, like you have an x-ray and then you go for physical therapy. Is it like months, or how do you determine when it's time to go to something else?
So, I mean, a lot of times when people say, I went to physical therapy, and people who have gone to physical therapy usually probably know this, it's not what you do for that 1 hour session, it's the home exercise, that program that you take back home and do it consistently. You know, a lot of times when I see a patient, I say, no, did I go to physical therapy? Yeah. So did you do those exercises back at home on a daily basis? No. You need to understand, they are not going to be able to fix your shoulder. They're going to be able to give you guidance. You need to be able to take care of your shoulder. But typically, if you have done a 6 weeks course on a consistent basis doing your home exercise program, that's when you probably need to go to the next step.
Last 2 questions. Arun Bhai wanted to ask one, and we'll, again, like I said, he's reachable. He's not going anywhere, so we can catch him again because we have one more speaker after this. So Arun Bhai and Dilip, and then we'll move on.
Parag, so first off, thank you for everything you do for Masters and now today, because everything you touch, there has never been a failure in what, and this is one of those incredible topics that you brought up. Here's my question to you. For guys who are 70 and above, what are some of the core things that they need to do with regards to the shoulder to help themselves overall, and specifically if you're a bowler?
Again, you brought up that age thing, Arunbhai, and you know me, I've always said age is never a barrier for you to get better. Yes, if you're 70 and you exercise, you might not get as good as if you're 20 and exercise, but you'll still get better. So we talked about this whole chain. You're not talking about just the shoulder. You want to work on your flexibility, you want to work on your strength, you want to work on, as you increase, one of the biggest things that you need to work on is what people call functional balance, but that's a whole topic on itself. But yeah, you're never too old to exercise and get better. So a lot of times we say, you know what, I'm 60, how much am I going to get better? I can guarantee you everybody gets better. How much better is relative. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Dylan.
I have one question. I think Arunbhai asked a really good question. So my question is that I have a stomach ache, and is it anything to do with the shoulder energy?
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Parag. We can keep you here all night. All right, we'll do one. And Parag, once again, thank you. It was very informational, I guess. Oh, Dr. Parag, Bol. So now we'll do one more round of raffles, and then we have one more, one more speaker. All right, this time we'll do one jacket, and we'll pull 15 tickets for those 15 shirts, and you can, if you win, get it from Adnan, and we'll do this a little quickly. Who wants to pull this? Dr. Parag? No. Doesn't matter. All right. Go ahead. Give us 10. So this one is for the jacket. Ajaf Shabi. So this is for the jacket. Go ahead.
All right, this is for the jacket. 640100. Do we have a winner? All right, we do. 640100. Come on out. So they give the jacket away for this one? This one. All right, now for the T-shirts. Congrats, buddy. All the best. For the T-shirts, for the 10 T-shirts, 640100. That's the same one. You had two of these? I mean, no, I'm just kidding. Sorry about that. 640139. 139, going once. Pankaj Kampli. 139. So just remember, we got one. Your T-shirts are over there, Pankaj. Congratulations, and again, thanks to BizTrack. T-shirt number 2, 640065. 65. 640065. Nobody? Oh, we got Farhan. All right, Farhan, T-shirt number 2. Congratulations. I guess the crowd figured it out. These guys want to finish it soon, so just raise your hands and get the T-shirts. So the next one, 640135. 135. All right. 640121. 121. All right. Congratulations. There you go. T-shirt number 4. The next one, 640130. 130. Okay. 640111. 111. You have it? All right. There you go. You dropped something as well. Congratulations. All right, that's number 6 or 7. 640059. 5-9. Congratulations. How many more do we have? 3 more. Yeah, you can just pick it up from there. 5-9. 640078. 78. Guru, congratulations. Or is it Anthony? Who is it? Anthony, congratulations. Man, they're sweeping it. 640154. 154. Nobody? 154. No, 152, you'll get a sleeve. I mean, if you can work with that. 640043. 43. Didn't you just win one? No, just kidding. Oh, 4-2 on it. Sorry, it's 4-3. 4-3. Bully is about to ask for a refund for his registration. He didn't win anything so far. 640064. Ramki, congratulations. Congrats, Ramki. Pick up your t-shirt. And again, thanks to Bistrack, guys. Very generous of you, Bistrack, giving us these lovely t-shirts. Appreciate it. All right, so here we are, the final speaker for tonight. Again, finance plays a very key role in our lives. I think we can all afford to take some guidance, get some tips, some ideas, suggestions. And to speak about that, Srikanth Ranganathan. Give him a big round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, guys. How are we doing? All right. From collaboration. I love the way you presented, by the way. Thank you very much. What do I say? From collaboration to shoulder. Now, I'm going to talk about risk assessment. All right, little synopsis about myself. I don't have any presentation for you guys. I want to make it more interactive. We're all team players, right? We play cricket. So in fact, this is the first time I've come for the Masters. I was in hibernation for 15 years. And I see all my old friends, Ravi Suri, Ramki, Fazal. We all used to play for the same club back in New York, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., you name it. Now, wealth, we all are in the process of building our wealth. Okay, a little synopsis about myself before I say, okay, who's this guy? And they're talking about wealth. I'm a total hardcore finance guy. When I say hardcore, from Wall Street to Main Street, that's the journey I've taken. Wealth accumulation, everybody is into it. Now, how many people are preserving that wealth? We all know we are so intriguingly involved in, okay, paise banane bhai, let's go make money, all right? Uncle Sam is very happy. He is very, very happy, you know. Uncle Sam doesn't want to take taxes on a petty amount. They are waiting for you to turn 65. Yes, you'll be surprised. In 2019, there was a Secure Act, and there are fine prints to it with footnotes. You know, normally, if you want to say anything loud, you don't say it loud. You put footnotes. So that you're going to be penalized for that. So to make it more interesting, required mandatory distribution, what we call RMD, okay? Now, 72 years, you got to take what you've earned in the next 10 years. So how does that happen? So you plan it, okay? You plan it in a way that once you are closing in, and you want to draw, you know, some amount where you're paying very minimal taxes. right? And subsequently, if something happens to you, initially it used to be like, okay, something happens to you, the beneficiary, okay, based on their age, they still had time to get withdraw the money. After the Secure Act, if something happens to you, all your income becomes an ordinary income. So the money has to be taken out that very year. How many people know about this? You all have 401. Okay, how many of you are on a W-2 workforce, if I may ask? All right, great. And how many of you here are self-employed? Say 1099, cop to cop, on a business side, or an S-corp, an LLC, a C-corp? Great. Now, the W-2 guys, you have to understand one thing. Either you do a 401k, right? And the 401k, you want to maximize it because you're so happy about, oh yeah, I'm saving some money on taxes now. You're forgetting about the fact that IRS is laughing at you. All right, and we don't put too much, what do you say? We don't put too much emphasis on that. And you say, okay, we are totally intrigued in our day-to-day life job, that by the time you realize, you already have a sticker shocker, right? And the self-employed guys, they are in a predicament. How? They are making all their wealth, busy making their wealth, and they will go to their CPA and tell them, "Bhai, meri tax barte." There are two ways of saying it. You go to a CPA and you say, "Okay, please file my taxes." The CPA will say, "Okay," because this guy will be paying like 500 or 1,000 bucks for filing his taxes. If you ask the right question, "Bhai, my tax liability kitna hai? How much is my tax liability?" "Oh, you $500,000. Okay, can you save 100,000 in that?" Now, the CPA can save you 100,000, trust me, because there are so many IRS publications he is not implying, because he is not putting time on your tax filing. An incentive there will allow him to look into the 70,000 pages of tax code. You know there are 70,000 pages of tax code? And most of the people are not even aware of it. So the best way to do it is, how much you want to save. You tell that guy, "Bhai, I want 100 grand to be taken out." And trust me, he'll come up with all those publications, he'll interpret it and file it accordingly. Now, I'm not a CPA, I'm not suggesting that you come to me and I save your money, but I'm giving you ideas. See, I'm a team player, boss. I play cricket. So I have to give this to Adnan. By the way, I went through a trial process. That's how I got selected. Now, when I went through the trial process, the guy who was selecting, he said, "Oh, are you a finance guy?" I said, "Why are you asking that question?" "You were talking to someone about finance." He was asking about some 401k. I said, "Yeah, I do more of an advisory kind of a job." And like, no, I'm building a house, and it's my house, but it looks like I'm going to have some capital gains on it. I said, "Okay." I gave him 1, 2, 3 tips, the way you structure it. And Adnan was right behind listening to me. So after the trial, he says, "Would you be interested in becoming a key speaker?" मैंने कहा, "यार तू पहले team पे तो ले ले, select me first, let me play cricket first. I was in hibernation for 15 years. I want to come and play." So I think probably he selected me only for this. Because what is happening right now? I'm here, come by, done by. What day we landed here? Saturday. Then Sunday, no match. Monday, no match. I was like, what is going on, man? So, the hibernation is being extended. Okay, then finally I get a chance. Finally. I said, I'm an opening batsman. So I'm looking at, okay, I'm going to bat very soon. 1 down, 2 down, 3 down, 4 down, 5 down. Oh, what is going on? You're coming after a long time. I don't know about you. So I said, okay. पहला मैच खत्म हो गया. All right. Second match. अब तो आ जाएगी मेरी number. Okay, anyway. I'm not here to do bitching. Sorry, guys. I already did, by the way. So, sorry. So, right. Now, I'm going to talk about preservation. How you preserve wealth. Let's talk something constructive. We have already time pass kar diya both. Okay. You plan the day you start building the wealth. Now, there are several avenues. Okay, several. I'll tell you now. There's several. People who are self-employed, they normally have defined benefit programs. They have SEP IRA, several facets to it. And most of the folks, who are the Patels here, I know so many Patels, they would be having motels. They have the 1031, and so many ways how to save on capital gains. So the best way to do it is, you'll be surprised that you start investing in insurance. Oh, that's a lovely, see, that was a googly. Okay, now why do I say that? Insurance industry, if you really see, about 10 or probably 15 years back, they never used to talk about retirement. You see Pacific Life, Voya, all these carriers have started principle. These carriers have started talking about retirements. What exactly it is? They're all cash accumulation product. When I say cash accumulation product, most of these products, along with the life insurance, what we call a permanent death benefit, it has a cash side to it. Now, what it does, it's based, there are several strategies in that. Now, see, the problem is, again, most of the people doesn't know how to structure it. Most of the insurance agent, you reach out, okay, Shrikant suggested, okay, there's let me explore that. So you find some life insurance guy and you talk to him, and they would say, oh, this is the best product, because their agency would be working with only 1, 2, 3 carriers. Now, how do I know that am I getting the right product, right? So what you have to do is, it's not getting quote. First of all, understand the product and the concept behind it. You really have to understand that what kind of product you're going to invest in. And before that, what's the objective? Are you only looking for a permanent death benefits? Or are you looking for something where there is an avenue for you to have a retirement income from insurance? Now, why this guy is emphasizing? Is he a life insurance agent? Yes, I am. I have a license. Oh, what does he do? Oh, I have a security license. Asset under management too, I do. But why am I talking about insurance? Because most of the people are not aware. The self-employed folks who are building so much wealth, they're doing estate planning and everything. Subsequently, the wealth they have built, they're going to pay taxes on inheritance, probate charges. So the kids are going to say, Bapu ji ne to left lot of wealth for me, man. But IRS took like 40% of that as taxes. So now, when I say you plan your taxes now, I mean you start buying insurance in such a way that if your net worth is like 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 20 million, whatever it is, you have to estimate by the time you want to retire, or the lifespan in America for male is 78, by the way, okay? It has come down after pandemic. Women outlive men, by the way. They are 84. So what happens? The entire wealth you have built, the face value of the insurance which you have insured will take care of all the taxes. And the equity and the wealth which you have built on the other side will go without any taxes to your kids. So the kids are going to say, oh, my dad was very smart. He did a wonderful job. wealth banaya or chhod ke bhi gaya, I'm really enjoying it. So, you just have to understand the importance of preservation. It's not about only accumulating. It comes hand to hand. You guys have to see that when you're young. Why? When you're young, the cost of insurance is less. Now, what do you mean by cost of insurance? So you go out and say, oh, I want $1 million policy. But why do you need only $1 million policy? Oh, for now, I have from most of the W2 guys will say, oh, my employer provides it. Achha, what happens the day you are out of job? Oh, I will take it. Okay, so you think the premium is going to be the same? No, you are enrolled in a groom insurance. It's not going to be same. So what you do is you see yourself where you're going to be. Again, this is an estimate. That's all it is. So you see yourself how you're going to be in 10 years' time and try to start buying insurance now. You'll be surprised. I have 11-year and a 14-year-old kid. Whenever I get any incentive, I start buying cash accumulation product for them. Because it's not the insurance I'm looking at, because I'm looking at the cash value. I haven't even talked about that. And I'm looking at Fazal. Ye bhaiya bahut baat karta hai. Main वैसे भी करता हूँ, अभी भी करूँ. That's how I am. So what I'm saying is the cash accumulation happens on a compound interest basis only in life insurance. And when I say compound interest, in India, people who are from subcontinent, they understand compound interest. America is all about simple interest. So the compound interest, how does it work in life insurance? When you're buying a cash accumulation product, it could be a VUL or an IUL or a whole life. There's several products to it. Now, the interest on an IUL is based on the index performances. It could be Dow Jones, it could be S&P, it could be NASDAQ, it could be Russell, it could be Fidelity, it could be Mosaic. So you have to understand where the investment, what kind of strategy you want it. Based on those strategies, you can start investing accordingly to your individual objectives. So, do I continue or shall I ask people to ask questions? What do you say?
Whatever serves you best, I guess.
I'm okay. I want people to, I love the way they are listening to me. I enjoy it.
So
right? But I want people to ask me questions. Okay, I would love to answer on, yes, please. Sorry, one second. Yeah.
Somebody is around, beyond that limit. How he actually, so do they have to start taking that? I mean, I understand those plans. I
estate
have
planning.
Gone
You're
through
talking about estate planning, right?
Yeah, estate planning. Yeah. So estate planning, not only estate planning and also the insurance planning. So now I started. I have multiple sources of income. So I invest in insurance for my kids directly.
Very good.
And the estates, whatever I have, I am also including my kids as part of the. I'm like
beneficiaries.
Beneficiaries.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is all what we are talking right now, or are we missing anything? How do we know?
You have a good start to begin with. You are
Okay.
starting very well.
Okay,
Right?
thank you.
But have you done a comprehensive estate planning? Do you have, when I say a comprehensive estate planning, you go through an attorney and all the assets you have, it'll be listed into the deed. Now, if your net worth is beyond $25 million, when I say 11.2, that's courtesy Trump. It is only 5.5, he doubled it. So for a family, spouses, it's about 22.4 or something. If you Google, you will know it. Now, that is going to expire in 2025. If Donald J. Trump doesn't become president, Joseph R. Biden will take it out. That is for sure. So what you have to do is, there are several other estate planning strategies. It's not only that one aspect to it. It might cost more, but you have to understand what your net worth is going to be over the course of time. You don't know, you might win $1 billion lottery, that's a different scenario. But in a realistic term, when you do an assessment, say you're XYZ, and you're going to expand, you see yourself in the next 5 years, based on your short-term and the mid-term and long-term goals, you should be able to assess something. So you start buying more insurance. That's one way of how do I address the taxes which I'm going to face. Okay, by the way, people who are on W-2, you guys have to understand, Washington is the first state in America where they have started implying long-term care taxes, 0.58%. There are 19 other states. They are in queue. So they are not, see, come on. They want you to take care of your health care, man. The bottom line is that. That is what it is. So what we have to do is we just have to be proactive about it. And if you have a long-term care, you, in 2021, 2022, most of the folks out of Washington state, they were going to out of state and buying long-term care. So again, you just have to understand that other than only earning and making money, preservation is a bigger, it's a bigger challenge. So there has to be a planning happening on a regular basis. You have to revisit on that. Everybody will come and say, an insurance agent, I'm a planning advisor. That is not the thing. How much he or she does know is based on what your needs are. So you go and tell them that this is what I need. You don't get the right answers. You can always find somebody else, right? Any other question? Yes, sir.
Hi, Imran Ahmed. So I am a financial advisor for last 31 years.
Oh, great.
With Eagle Strategies and New York Life.
Okay.
So the question really stands, the estate planning is really the foundation. Yes, it's planned early, but 98% of the population does not qualify or do something about it, right? Because it's about literally almost $24 million are tax-free from the
Correct.
state, right?
Correct.
But this will sunset.
Right.
You guys understand in December of 2025,
Right.
Senate and Congress will have a new law.
Right.
This all will be demolished.
Eradicated,
So we
yeah.
don't know what will happen at that time.
Correct.
But my key question here is, as far as people who are planning, the importance of trusts, especially when we talk about insurance.
Right.
ILIT, Irrevocable Life Insurance
Absolutely,
Trust,
absolutely.
plays a very vital role in it,
Absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
On it. So we'd like to hear a little bit about that to people to benefit from it, because when we buy life insurance, it becomes part of the state.
Right.
Right, unless we put it in ILIT. Correct?
There is, no, you are talking from one side of it. You're so right about the fact that ILIT, you become part of the state, right? But on an individual basis, when an insurance is structured in an estate planning, you don't. Again.
So, sorry,
Sure.
I need to know this because, I do this a lot. With
I
the,
understand.
With the
You've
work
been
of
doing it for
attorneys.
31 years, yes.
31 years.
Yes.
So ILIT is the only way you can avoid taxes on your life insurance if you fall in that category of high taxation state tax.
Correct.
Right, federal state tax.
Absolutely.
Right, and you just said that no, if it's individually owned?
See, there are two types of it, right? See, non-MEC and MEC. Endowment. What happened?
No, nothing. No, please continue.
So the non-endowment and endowment side of it, right? MEC and a non-MEC. You understand that part of it?
Endowment only has to do with taxation on the cash value.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with the state.
I'm telling you, I'm coming to that point, whatever you're saying. That's, I'm going to have a conversation with you. What you're saying, I fully agree to it. When the insurance side of it. Any other question? Yeah, sure.
Is it a better idea than move your 401k, as you said, into IRA every year? In
Yeah.
RMD is at 72. You still pay taxes, and the insurance that you're talking about, the cash value,
Mhm.
most of the people are above 50 now, going backwards and planning that cash value.
Mhm.
I think it's a difficult task. And you're thinking about the kids, we're thinking about ourselves at the age of the retirement. Isn't it a better idea to move it into the IRA and pay the taxes up front right now when the market is down?
That is what a strategy most of the financial advisors are giving, right? But again, now the cash accumulation can happen within the family too. It need not be on insurance on us. So when you're accumulating cash, it could be a son, it could be a spouse. So it's based on what kind of strategy you want to implement. Okay?
So you talked about your kids, right? And I think you diverted your topic to something else, but I don't know, maybe not. But okay, short and sweet answer to how with respect to insurance or slash trust, if you have for the kids, is it on their name or how what is the easiest way to see that your kids get the most of your thing wealth?
Kids, again, what I'm doing is primarily for the cash value.
I know.
For my kids. I'm not worried about the face value of it. So when I buy, I'm more vested into the cash side of it. So my strategy is primarily, if the college funds they want, they have the cash. Whenever my 11-year goes into college, the cash is available for her to take from that. So all these cash accumulation product allows you to do that.
Okay, I'll reach out.
Sure, sure.
Thank you, Chika.
No problem.
Just wondering, do you have any examples of how do you package different packages, right? How folks can leverage those packages depending on the income and the family size?
It depends on your objective. What exactly
Well,
you want.
objective of everyone is same, right? Most of the people.
Your needs, your short-term, your mid-term, and long-term needs. Based on that, you can structure it.
Okay.
So we can definitely have a conversation on that. What exactly you want to get out of that? Does you want it in 10 years, or 10, 15 years, or 20 years, based on that?
I just want to, first of all, the gentleman over there who has financial advisory experience, Srikant, and others who are in that field, they're all here to help you get some ideas, right? The question that was asked is, I am 55 years old. My time is less going forward than the time I spend on this earth. So the question is, how do I do things that can help me in my retirement, but then at the same time, I could do things for my kids, right? How many of you are business owners? I know that question was asked. How many of you are business owners, right? Now, as a business owner, you have an advantage as it relates to your kids, right? One of the things that you do as individuals is concept of Roth 401k or Roth IRA, right? Which is you pay your taxes now and let the money grow tax-free. If you are a business owner, one of the things that you can do is figure out how can you put your kids on a payroll. Give them some project, keep good records so that if you get audited, hey, my kid got this work, did this work for me, I gave them $5,000, $6,000, whatever it is. The limit for Roth IRA changes every year. But the beauty of that is the law says you have to have earned income to be able to contribute. So one of the things that you can do for your kids to give them a head start is get them on the payroll, give them some task. Their tax liability for that amount is zero pretty much. And you don't even actually pay them, you just pay them and put the money in their Roth IRA, and then you do the investments just like you do for yourself. But what you are doing is giving them a tremendous start for the compounding that you was talking about.
Thank you, Zakir.
Thank you, guys. I think we are running out of time now, so thank you, Srikant.
Srinath, thank you very much.
Any other questions? We good? You have a question, Shabai? Oh, okay. All right. So we'll do the one last raffle now, and dinner is almost ready. So another 5 or 7 minutes, we'll have dinner, and karaoke night follows after that. Ready? Yeah, okay.
Already have that? Okay. All right, we'll do one final pick for the bat, so let's go a little deep into the room. Somebody, Jivaka, who better than Jivaka? Yeah, let's pick one, Jivaka. Yep, that one, mine. Yeah. All right, the winner for the bat, thanks to Hamza again, 6-4. 640-143. All right, have a winner here, the bat. Hamza, if you could come and actually give him the bat, please.
First, he gets me out. Now he wins the bat. And like 10 tickets for the shirts, and we'll be done.
Oh, we got 10? All right, I believe we have 10 more shirts to give away. The next one, ending with 042, 640042, for a t-shirt. Bistrack, lovely t-shirt, ending with 42. All right, passing on. 640105. You have a 105? All right. He looked surprised though. Congratulations, 105.
By the way, all the food in all these masters, Hyderabad, thank you so much.
Ending with 111. Is that you? No. Oh, it's done? Man, you guys have amazing memory. I mean, how do you even remember the number? All right, fair enough. We'll pass to the next one. 059. Ending with 059. That's gone too? And who the hell said we are aging? I mean, everybody remembers the numbers. All right, 053. All right, we have a winner. Congratulations. 026, ending with 026. Congratulations. Got one more. 100, guys. That's a good batting number. Ending 100. You already got one? Okay, he's donating it back to the Masters. 158. 158. You did? Balbir, read it again, please. All right, Balbir Singh. 158. Look. Ending with 028. 028. Guys, Angela wins it. I mean, congratulations. Yeah. See, that's collaboration now. We made sure you won. No, that's yeah. 148. Wow, Ajit Jai Singh. Come on, Ajit. Congratulations. We done? Two more? How many do we have, Adnan? One? Okay. And plus, he also got a 150. Congratulations, Ajit. I mean, awesome batting, man. Not to forget the great World Cup performance. And big round of applause for the 60s, guys. Fantastic World Cup. Jivaka, the skipper, machine, right? Great job, guys. Very proud of y'all. All right, 125. We got two more. Okay, 125. There you go, another left arm spinner. Come on, Imachu. Pick up your t-shirt. Congratulations. 094, the last t-shirt, plus $5,000 in cash. 094. Congratulations. There you go. Okay. Okay, thank you guys. Won't hold you long for dinner. Dinner's ready. But just wanted to take a couple of moments again to thank our sponsors. Their trust, and a lot of times it's not really about, typical sponsorships, they look for returns. They look for some sort of an ROI. But I think what these folks, what these companies have been doing in the last 2-3 years is purely being very gracious, very generous, helping a nonprofit based on the cause that it stands for, and truly wanting to be able to contribute and help us be successful. So I'll start off with Yesh Technologies. If you could please all stand up, the entire Yesh team. Pankaj, you got fantastic, and thank you so much, guys. A little souvenir from us and BizTrack. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Awesome. And of course, not to forget the rest of our sponsors, CNC. I don't know if Milind Bhai is here. He helped us actually get that sponsorship. Spotify, Ranga, thank you so much for your help and assistance. eClinical Works. Girish is not here, obviously. Fazal had a huge role to play to actually get that. And Ravi, iSpace. Where's Ravi Bhai? Is Ravi Bhai here? He's outside. Again, thank you, Ravi Bhai, for iSpace. And of course, TechWave, again, thank you so much, for your generosity. Sequoia, right? Do we have Pri here? Jivaka, is Pri here? Pri, thank you so much for finding us that sponsorship. And Breeze, is David here? David's not. Thank you, David. Love you, man, for all your support. And of course, Rafe, BizTrack, fantastic platform. Looking forward to all the capabilities, leveraging the capabilities in the coming months and years. Yeah, just a message that we got, guys. This is truly inspiring, right? We talked about Masters and how this is more than cricket, a family, right? So one of the players, by the way, so somehow found out about Masters, and I think in a lot of ways attributed to one of our players, Balbir Singh, who spoke to him about Masters and what this is all about and how much fun this is and, the tremendous value, right? Each one of us kind of try and derive out of it. So before he joined Masters, his hemoglobin A1C, right, was 16.9. Guys, 16.9, right? And in fact, it got pretty worse that he was in ICU for 6 months. Now, with Masters, I wouldn't say that it was totally that as an inspiration, but definitely played a role. But he saw what this was all about and how interesting and how much fun this is, plus a way to kind of shape, refine, and get better at what we do, get healthy, and so forth. His A1C dropped to 6.9, guys, 6.9, right? Just again, for confidentiality reasons, not disclosing the name. And this is what this is all about, right? It's more than cricket. Thank you so much again, and I hope you enjoy your dinner. And of course, when you get some time, please spend some time on the posters. Feel free to network, reach out to everyone. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate it.